Happy Sunday, everyone. It's Josh coming to the folks of the interweb with a tarot snapshot. And before I dive into it, I want to talk about the point of today's snapshot. I think we need a reminder every once in a while that we're doing the best we can with what we have. And I know a lot of us don't feel that way. A lot of us want to be the best version of ourselves, the best, for me, best father, best husband, best brother, best community member, best everything that I could be for the people that I have to be those things for. We can very much get caught up in that story. We can get caught up in that idea that we have to be the best thing. We've got to be the best thing. I want to take a moment today just to remind you that no matter where you find yourself, whether you're kicking ass and taking names, as they say, or perhaps you find yourself a little bit tired and you need a rest, or you want a slow day, and you're not absolutely at the peak of your performance, if you will, that's okay. And especially because if you're seeking the peak, if you're seeking an ideal and you're not meeting it, well, one, that's okay because you're seeking it. You want to be that better version of yourself. That right there is a lot more than a lot of people are accomplishing for their own lives, for their own stories. A lot of people are very happy with being the mediocre version of themselves. I think we have to, again, sit in this place of being an idealist, wanting the ideals for ourselves, and being a realist, being the realist version of ourselves, for ourselves. Showing up from a place of accountability, but not from exceptionally difficult standards to reach for ourselves. So just remember that no matter where you're at, where the version that you are today is absolutely the best version of who you need to be right now. Whether you believe that or not, it's absolutely okay to feel a little bit less than stellar, top notch. The Tarot Snapshot is a 3-card reading with insight into who we are, where we're at in this moment, insight into what kind of vexes and perplexes us, and insight into what heals and reveals. I like to think that the greatest forces in our world are the force of the rose, the love, the compassion, grace, but also the force of the thorn, the boundaries, the strength, the wisdom that we need to deal with love in a physical reality. When I do this reading, these 3 cards, where we're at, what vexes and perplexes, what heals and reveals, I like to think of what vexes and perplexes as our thorns. So we have these thorns in our life. What is the wisdom, the guidance, the love, the rose that will heal and reveal for us? Let's dive into this. Okay. This card right here represents who we are right now. All right. Couldn't be any more clear. This is the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is that person who's overburdened. I like to think of this as the spring fever, cabin fever card, because this shows a person right at the very end. They're almost across the finish line. They could probably even see it, but they're weighed down, so they don't know. They don't know that the finish line is right there. They don't know that they're almost at the end of the journey. I was just talking about us being so burdened that sometimes we have to take a rest day. Sometimes we're not at our peak performance. Sometimes, we just don't get it to be a 10 on a scale of 0 to 10 that day. That's okay. You might be a 7. You might be a 3. It doesn't matter. Wherever you are, however you are, show up for yourself while holding yourself accountable from that compassionate place. So this is where we're at right now, the Ten of Wands. The thorn card, what vexes and perplexes us, is this. Okay, so this is an actual thorn that we see with the sword of that. But this is very much the Page of Swords coming to us to tell us to be a little bit more skillful with the tool that is our mind. So we have, the sword that is our mind. Our mind is a very powerful tool for us. If we're not using it with skill, we're going to hurt ourselves or other people. That's what this one tells me that we're suffering from right now. The inability for us to manage our mind in a healthy, balanced way. The card that will heal and reveal, the Rose card, is this. The Six of Pentacles. I love this. So we see this story of somebody who's overburdened. We see this story of somebody who needs to be a little bit more skillful with their mind, not letting their mind be their worst enemy. But then we see this energy of the Six of Pentacles. The Six of Pentacles is very much about that giving energy of, sometimes you need to be on the receiving end, sometimes you need to be on the giving end. But I'd like you to think about this being you, that you are this person right here, the giver, the person of charity, but you're also the person that is a person in need. I just gave a reading earlier today with this woman, and this doesn't happen often, but this woman's grandfather was upset at her. Very much so, because she was her own worst enemy. So imagine this grandfather in spirit loving his granddaughter, watching her, taking care of her from the world of spirit, what have you. But then that grandfather having to watch that granddaughter beat herself up. We can become, and most often are, the most precious loved ones for our loved ones in spirit. But then we can also become the person that beats them up the most. So this was a peculiar situation where this woman was the precious loved one of her grandfather, but she was also the person who was beating up the granddaughter the most. So there was this energy of, I love you, kid. I love you so much. I see you. I'm proud of you. I love you. But then on the other hand, there was this message of, but I see you're kicking your own ass. Could you please stop and maybe treat my granddaughter a little bit better? So that was a very insightful moment for her. She didn't realize that she was causing her grandfather pain by leaning into her own. That's what this card represents here, is that, the way you treat yourself is ultimately going to be a source of a lot of your pain. Not all of it, but a lot of it. If something really awful happened to you, and then you became a believer in that you deserve that awful thing, you're doubling up on that energy. You're doubling up on that negativity. You're doubling up on that story of awfulness. Sure, the awful thing happened to you, but you don't have to believe you deserved it. And in that way, you can kind of fight that fight in a stronger way, in a more skillful way. And we see that right here with that Page of Swords. So please be mindful of how you're talking to yourself. Please be mindful, if you're needing a rest day and you're taking a rest day, you find yourself beating yourself up for that, but you would never want somebody else you love to beat themselves up for taking a rest day. That's an opportunity for you to be a little bit more skillful with the story you're telling yourself, with that sword that you're cutting yourself with or defending yourself with. So take care. We're almost there. Be mindful of the sword of your mind and make sure that you're treating yourself with the same grace, compassion, empathy, and love that you would want somebody else to give themselves. Take care of yourself and have a wonderful week.